Whoa ho, whoa hoo hoo, ho ho, whoa ho ho ho. Why am I sounding like Santa Claus? But hey guys, how are you? This is IronE Singleton, aka T-Dog from the Walking Dead. Ever since I started the show, I've gotten 10,500,484,275,000,000, 516,000 questions, I think. Did I get my numbers right? About the show, about my time on The Walking Dead. So I don't, that number, I could say it again, 10 trillion, I won't do it. Takes too much time. But anyways, I've gotten a whole bunch of questions. That's basically what I'm trying to say about my experience on The Walking Dead. So what I'm going to do for the very first time, I don't think anybody else has done it. I especially don't think an OG member has done this, a podcast about their very own experience on the show. And I am going to do that. This is the very first podcast, I think. So tell a friend to tell another friend to tell another friend. Now, but before this podcast begins, I want you to understand that this is for mature audiences only. Why, you might ask? Because it's called We Are the Walking Dead. You know what the show is about. It's very graphic. It's guts and gore and bloody and all that stuff. Plus me, I might use a little profanity because I might get emotional. So this is the first time you'll see me getting emotional about the show because I won't be T-Dog. I will be watching the show as myself. And I may get a bit emotional and I may get upset about some of the decisions that some people may make. So that's another reason why the show is for mature audiences only. I'll tell you something, guys. I have not cursed publicly since my kids came into this world and started making their impact in this world. I stopped cursing. You know, I grew up in the projects and I cursed a lot, like probably more than you'll ever curse in your life before I became a teenager, maybe. And then I had kids and my conscience hit me, boom. Graduated as a theater major from the University of Georgia, right? Go Dogs. And then when I graduated, I had my first child just shortly before graduation. And then I thought about it as my daughter started to age, and then another child came into the picture. And I was like, man, and I was doing stand-up comedy when I graduated from from college. And I said, man, all this profanity, I wanted to do it differently. I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want my kids to get the impression that the way they should express themselves is through profanity. And everybody is different. It's just the way my conscience affected me. And so I changed the way I communicated by dropping profanity from my public life. I continue to do stand-up comedy, but my comedy came from my life growing up in poverty, living in the projects. And a lot of that comedy came from using curse words, because you would hear some of the funniest stuff expressed through foul and profane language. And so I eventually stopped doing stand-up comedy. All because of my kids. That's how much I love my kids. But guess what? My kids are grown now. So I think I'm about to start back doing some cussing. At least on this show right here, because I'll get emotional about it. We Are the Walking Dead. It's graphic, maybe profane. So if you have kids in the room, plug their ears and cover their eyes. Because without further ado, I present to you the very first episode and then beyond of We Are the Walking Dead podcast, brought to you by IronE Productions and Insight Deals. I present to you We Are the Walking Dead.
To meet the twisted needs of all the sons of Sam. To destroy humanity. Cause we are the walking dead. 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 666, the equals we know. The beasts have a resident.
Darabont-esque, right? Just it feels like Darabont. Shout out to Darabont. This is Darabont all the way. Darabont, he presents this feeling of isolation, right? And the mist, Green Mile. When it comes on, it's like, oh, that's Frank Darabont. Oh man. And you see, hey, check out Rick's walk. Rick's got the chipper white man walk at the beginning of the walk. He hasn't really gotten into the apocalypse just yet. He doesn't know what's going on. He's like, deep. But hey, fast forward some seasons, we'll get there. His walk turns into John Wayne. Look at that. Look at this right here. Shit, boy. Hey, right now, he like, what's going on, buddy? Hey, oh my God, what is that? What is going on? He just wants some gas, man. It just feels like Frank Darabont, right? That's just something, that eeriness about it. Look at that, no gas. What's going on? Nobody's around. That little. He like was zombie under there watching him because of the shot, right? Where showed Rick's legs. And he's like, what is that? Like, she needs a bath. Her ankles are all rusty. She got rusty ankles. She got cankles.
Little girl? I'm a policeman. Little girl.
And she stopped. She like, what the hell? What the hell?
Don't be afraid, okay?
And so,
Little girl?
I don't even know if I watched this part like, see, you like, what the, oh, hell no. That's what black people say. Oh, hell no. Hell no. But Rick just stood there and just watched it like that. I'm down the highway right now. What the heck? I'm turning around. Look, I'm Noah Lyles right about now. What the hell? See, I would have been Noah Lyles, but Rick stayed. He's a police officer, so there it is. There's that music. Oh, I can't be too loud. I can't be too loud. I can't be too loud. That's when it got real. Like, you knew it was about to be real, right? You knew it was about to be crazy. You got the little white girl getting shot in the head. Like not just getting shot, but getting shot right in the middle of the forehead. I didn't know, the way Darabont set it up when he set that thing up. And how that whole thing went down, man, and how she started moving up on him. I'm like, what is this? The Exorcist part 15? And she started moving towards him. That was insane. Insane. So when I watched it, at that moment, I said, oh, yeah, this show is real. It's about to be serious. And I knew it was great. I knew it was great right there. And then what happened after that? Spook as hell down here, I'll tell you that much. You got my back?
Nope.
All right. T-Dog said he has my back. And I got my shield here too, so I should be good. And then after that, y'all, we opened with 6.4 million viewers. Shit. shit, but we were on our way. We were going places then, right? So Rick goes from there, and this is the first episode of my podcast, and so this is actually a special podcast because it's the first, and also, and I'll get to why later on. Even I'll go more in depth on that. But then Rick goes from there. So I'm not gonna watch any more of this episode. I'm mainly gonna just talk through this episode. So this ends up being a flashback. What we just watched, Rick going to get the gas and all that stuff, is actually a flashback. And Rick ends up, actually, it's a flash forward, but then we go to a flashback of Rick being in a shootout. Yes, I may have some of the details mixed up. We've all watched it. You know what I'm talking about. But Rick ends up on the highway getting a call, and he and Shane got a call that about some robbers or some criminals, and they were trying to get away from the cops. And Rick and Shane, they show up, and they have a shootout with the guys, and Rick gets shot, right? And Rick ends up in the hospital, and then Shane shows up, showing Rick love in his memory. I'm trying to figure out, why in the hell, like in Rick's memory, damn, we gonna attract the zombies. Y'all tell me to shut the hell up, like quiet down if I get too loud, because my wife she has a tendency of telling me, like, your inside voice. Because, being a theater major, I can get a little loud. And she's like, your inside voice. And if I continue to be loud, she'll say, your inside voice. She'll say it again. I don't want to attract the zombies, y'all. Do not want to do that. Okay, so Rick, these are questions that I have about the show that I didn't really address or anything like that when I was on the show. And, looking back on it, now I'm doing the podcast, I'm going to address some of this shit. So Rick has thoughts when he wakes up out of his coma. He has these memories of Shane coming to see him when he was in the hospital, right? And then he wakes up and then he sees the flower. Frank Darabont allows us to know that a lot of time had surpassed from the time he first entered the hospital until the time he woke up out of his coma, because he showed the wilted flowers and all that stuff, right? But Rick had these memories of Shane coming to see him. But he didn't have any memories of Lori and Carl them coming down there to see him. But Shane was placid into his mind. That was his right hand. That was his right hand man. Where was Lori at that time? What was going on with Lori and Carl? I wonder. I don't think Lori was creeping across town to see Morgan or nothing like that. I don't think so. No, that wasn't the case. No, Lori's a good woman. But I'm just surprised that this is all the stuff you talk about. Like you think about when you're watching TV or you're watching movies and you have all these questions. But he never thought about one time, he never had that memory of them. So anyways, he wakes up, walks outside of the hospital. That's the hospital I used to go to, guys. When I was a kid, I broke my leg as a 10-year-old, and I ended up at the hospital. The actual hospital is called Bolton Hospital, but it was shut down sometime after I became a teenager or something like that. So I started just going to Grady, which moving forward, we'll touch on Grady, because Grady becomes a significant part of the show as well. Grady Hospital, which is where I was born. But Bolton Hospital is the place that Lincoln came out of during episode 1. And all the sunlight and everything, then he runs into the bicycle girl. And then from the bicycle girl, he ends up getting hit upside the head. Bang! So Morgan's son whacks him upside the head, right? Bada bing, bada boom. And so he wakes up inside of Morgan's house, and Morgan explains to him the whole thing, and he tells him, don't get bit. He said, go to Atlanta, because Atlanta is the place where people are taking refuge. So he goes to Atlanta, He's on his way to Atlanta, but before he goes to Atlanta, he gets to the horse, right? He gets the horse, and then he takes the horse on into Atlanta. I think because he runs out of gas or something like that. Then he goes to Atlanta, and that's when it gets serious in Atlanta because he's trying to follow the helicopter. Doesn't even understand that the city had been overrun. Trying to reach out on walkie-talkie, trying to, contact somebody, and he couldn't, get in touch with anybody. It was the communication was very, very sparse and not easily understood. And so he didn't hear Amy when I think Amy was like, "Don't go to Atlanta." I hope he doesn't go to Atlanta because the city's overrun. And man, so I was like, "This is special." Just like I had said while we were shooting that episode. And while we shot the entire first season, constantly remarking about how special the show was. We just said, are people going to tune in? And people tuned in. 6.4 million of you tuned in, guys. And for that, I will forever be thankful. But I get so many questions. I'm so walkers. This is creepy, right? This is creepy. I'm in the tomb. Y'all know the tomb from season 3, episode 4. I'm in the tomb, y'all. Walkers could be anywhere. This is the same tomb where Herschel, he got his leg bitten, right? He had to get his leg chopped, but that's another story. That's another episode. So, but 6.4 million, I think, of you tuned in, and it was special, man. It was like, damn. And it was shot in my backyard, and I get so many questions about my experiences on the show and how I prepared for T-Dog. And somebody asked me yesterday, I was at an event. I went to my high school reunion. Like every year there's a reunion. This is my first time going back to the reunion. And they said, did you have trouble coming out of T-Dog? He said, was it hard, like coming back to yourself? Because he remarked about how actors, when they're trying to find their characters, sometimes they get locked into that character. You never really see who they were originally, i.e. Heath Ledger, right? May he rest in peace. And I told him, and I said, no. I said, and for me, because my upbringing, which was many of you probably know, was poverty stricken, and I grew up in the projects of Atlanta. So I said, man, you know something? I have so many traumatic and horrific moments just growing up in that world. Whenever I try to create any type of character, I use that as my baseline, especially if it's a character that is a part of, if somebody I'm playing in a dark project or something like The Walking Dead, I'm like, I use my background to kind of help me to shape my character. I said, I've had sometimes actors go so deeply into their characters, it becomes so traumatic for them. And it could really ruin them. So acting, it could be damaging if not handled with proper care, I would say. So, but for me, I'm like, man, I'm thankful that it doesn't affect me that way, because I've had so many more, traumatic and deeper experiences in real life. So I'm not bothered that way at all. But throughout this episode 1 of season 1, there was a lot of gunfire, right? Like with the sheriffs having to shoot out with the criminals, and with Rick, of course, shooting the zombie. First very zombie that opened the show and told the world like what we were in for. And we had the shootings in Atlanta, right, with Rick running from the walkers downtown, shooting them. Rick shooting the bicycle girl, guns, 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 right? And that is what I wanted to really focus on with this very first episode, because there was a tragedy less than an hour away from where I live in Georgia at Appalachian High School about a young mass shooter. And it's so unfortunate. We have a lot of that, and we have an epidemic in America in particular of gun violence, and our young people just really losing it and hurting, lashing out and hurting other people. This is mainly what I wanted to focus on this first episode, because I've lost so many of my friends and family members to senseless violence, to gun violence, and they're no longer here. And I want, even, this is supposed to be for mature audiences, but young people are mature. The younger mature people understand that, these guns, there's no coming back in real life. Like, this is The Walking Dead. This is fiction. The world we live in is nonfiction. That zombie that Rick shot in the head at the very beginning of the show, in the opening of the show, when the director said cut, when Frank said cut, she got up. Addie Miller, she got up and went home. Unless she had to shoot another scene or something like that. But she was done. She lived. So I'm just imploring everybody to really be mindful of the decisions that we make, especially when it involves guns, because there is no coming back from that. There's no coming back from guns. Check it. Some people say it's not the guns, it's the people. Well, I say, yeah, it's the people, because it takes a person to fire that gun. But guess what? If it were not for that gun, then they more than likely probably would still be here. Because guess what? I would rather for somebody to pick up a stick and swing that stick at me and hit me than to receive a bullet. What's that? I would rather that. I would rather for somebody to pick up a brick and throw it and hit me upside my head than to shoot me with a gun. Get a machete. I don't care. Get a spitball. Get a straw and spitball. Something more so than a gun. Those guns are very powerful and much more potent than all of those other weapons I just mentioned. So we can't just say it's the people that are doing it without mentioning the guns. We got to do away with these guns and this gun violence. Understand, kids, that the games that you play, or young people or whomever, you play these video games and you're using the guns or whatnot. Yeah, that's fiction. That's just like The Walking Dead. But you have to be mindful to not be desensitized by that stuff. And understand when you use those guns that you're inflicting a lot of pain upon other people. So I wanted to, because that tragedy is just fresh on my heart, and my heart, my prayers go out to everybody that was affected firsthand, by this senseless tragedy, along with all of the other individuals that have been impacted so greatly by gun violence. My heart goes out to you, my prayers, my love to you. And I know, they say the prayers get old, but prayer is powerful, but we have to do much more than that. So I advocate for gun reform. We need gun reform now. Yeah, my future episodes, I'll probably, I'll touch on, watch more clips and whatnot and comment and react to those. But right now, this is much more serious. Put the guns down. Gun reform now. All right. Thank you for joining me on my very first episode of We Are The Walking Dead. Tell you something, guys. We all have free will, and we have the will to do good, and we have the will to do bad in this life. And the decisions we make will certainly impact others. So let's make sure that the decisions we make impact people positively and not negatively, all right? I love all of you. I encourage you to love each other. It's free. So until the second episode of We Are the Walking Dead. All right, yo. Be kind to one another. All right? IronE Singleton, a.k.a. T-Dog, and The Shield. We are all signing off. I look forward to next week, guys. Brought to you by IronE Productions and Insight Deals. Y'all take care, all right? Peace.